and welcome again to the BATTASS Podcast, the Batman the Animated Series show podcast, where we're talking about Batman the Animated Series. My name's Clay McCormack, and with me, as always, is
Sean Murphy.
And we are here to talk about Batman. Specifically, we will be talking about two episodes of the show today, Pretty Poison and the Underdwellers. So let's get right into Pretty Poison. Pretty Poison was, this is a story by Paul Dini and Michael Reeves, teleplay by Tom Ruegger, and it was directed by Boyd Kirkland. And when District Attorney Harvey Dent collapses after a meal with his fiancée Pamela Isley and friend Bruce Wayne, doctors discover that he has been poisoned. Batman must find the culprit and the antidote before the DA's time runs out.
Was this the first time that Paul Dini appears on the credits?
As far as we go, yeah.
Right.
I don't know the order. I don't know if these ones are the order they were produced or the order or whatever. But as far as this order goes, this is the first time. Yeah.
So I think he was a writer on Looney Tunes before this.
He was also on Tiny Toons with Bruce Timm.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. So it's interesting to see that he was able to translate to Batman so well, because I think for me, Paul Dini was one of the top writers on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think his presence here, again, I don't want to suck his dick too much right off the bat here, but it's like, it just to get straight down to it, this is the best episode we've watched so far for me. I think it's does what the Scarecrow episode didn't do, which is introduce a new villain in a way that's interesting and not just a formulaic villain with henchman heist player. Poison Ivy's motivation is clear, and it doesn't feel forced.
Right.
There's no scene in this where Poison Ivy takes a minute to explain her villainy to Batman or to whoever.
Oh no, not even towards the end. She doesn't have any kind of a monologue.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, like, not the way that they do for the Scarecrow, where he takes a minute and he's like, he explains his whole history.
Right.
Or the way Man-Bat kind of explains his whole thing.
Yeah, that's
You get to see a lot more of Poison Ivy's motivation here.
Right, yeah. Also, we get another episode of Dent that doesn't involve him being Two-Face yet.
Right, this is the first, for us anyway, in this order, this is the first Harvey Dent episode where he actually has stuff to do.
Right. Yeah, besides flip a coin nebulously, or ominously, I should say.
Yeah. My favorite part about this is they do that flashback where they set up building the breaking ground to build this prison, and they refer to it as building a better, safer Gotham. And then when they jump forward 5 years, they have the prison built, and the title card says 5 years later, a better, safer Gotham. Like they're taking a swipe at the politics of their own fictional characters.
And I noticed it's also at night, and Gotham looks a lot more scary. Better, safer Gotham. Clearly it's not better and safer.
Yeah, that's a big-ass prison, too.
Yeah, it looks like a boat.
Yeah, I don't know where that is in relation to anything else, but there's a lot of real estate there.
Yeah, it's like a Rikers Island of Gotham, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So, what do you think about, how do you feel about Poison Ivy as the character, as the way that she's designed and the way that they present her?
I really thought she was effective. And I'm having trouble understanding certain parts of her, but the stuff I loved is I think they based her off of Disney animation. I read somewhere, and the guy who created her look was able to really give it that. I think the worry was that Bruce Timm's stuff wasn't lending itself to women at the time, and I think even he himself said, "I'm glad we hired this guy."
That's interesting, because I mean, he does a lot of women drawings now. I know he does a lot of like pinup stuff.
Yeah, I hope I might have that wrong. I thought I read that in one of those. It was a book that came out about this series that talked about the toys and everything about it, really. And I think he said that, but I might be wrong. I like the sci-fi plants. I think that's, even though that's a little pulpy and it could go wrong very badly for me, or it could be a little bit much, but for some reason I like the monster plants. It's a nice way to show some different kinds of animation. Yeah, I know that doesn't exist in real life, but this is the kind of thing where I'm okay with that if it's used effectively. I like that she's an eco-terrorist. I like that she's sexy, but she's not like offensively sexual, at least in this cartoon. I always saw her as sort of empowered, and she's answering to plants and her own ideals, not to what men think about her.
Right.
And I really love any scene that takes place in a greenhouse. I don't know what it is about this series, but every time Batman enters a greenhouse, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think I like the way they handle her a lot. Costume-wise, I think it's a better first draft than Scarecrow was.
Yeah.
But I still think it feels first draft. Like her costume here is actually pretty reminiscent of the way she looked in her first appearance in the comics,
right,
back in the 60s or whatever.
Yeah.
But due to the animation constraints, she's usually covered in leaves and stuff and vines, but that's a pain in the ass to animate. So she's just sort of like dressed in a green leotard.
Yep.
Which, it works. Especially because she doesn't have... I mean, she's got the... In this one, they don't delve too deeply into what she can and can't do, or whether or not she has any weird powers or anything. I think now they generally treat Ivy as though she has, like, telekinetic mind link with plants or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
And in this one, she's very much sort of just like a crazy scientist.
Yeah, she has, like... Her plants seem to have free will. They sort of do what she asks, but I don't know if she can converse with them or control them with her mind. They seem to be down with her agenda, though.
Yeah. And I really like that they play her as a crazy person. She comes off as a normal character, a normal person until the plants are involved.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene towards the end where she accidentally shoots her own plant,
right,
and she like almost has a mental breakdown.
Yeah. So that was one thing that I wondered about her was, why is she like this? Mm-hmm. Is she just a disturbed botanist?
I don't know. I mean, they don't give us enough in this episode to really go off of.
They never really do. That was my one thing with her was maybe, I don't know what her motivation would be, but a lover gave her a flower and then he died. And I don't know, some kind of messed up quick history. Like, it just doesn't seem to be enough that she's crazy and she's crazy for plants.
Well, I know in the comics, because I looked it up before we started, it's sort of like that, where she's involved with this other doctor, romantically, I think, and he's doing all this testing on plant toxins or whatever, and he injects her with it against her will, and then she develops this, poison consistency, and then that kind of spews off from there. They're actually... when they redid her origin after Crisis on Infinite Earths, Neil Gaiman actually wrote it, and he tied it into Swamp Thing. So she actually was working at the same university with Alec Holland, who later becomes Swamp Thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I think from there, I think she started off as just sort of a crazy scientist with a little bit of a tweak, and over the past 30 years or so, she's become kind of a whole different monster.
Yeah, it's funny, when a lot of these characters were invented a long time ago, it was enough just to be crazy plant lady. Yeah. And you had superpowers, and that was enough. Now, I feel like we demand more. We need a backstory. It needs to be grounded and believable or something,
Well, I think in this one specifically, the thing that really stands out to me about this episode is I don't feel like you need that backstory for her as much.
Right.
Because what they give you is enough to tell the story they're telling, and it's not just a straightforward villain and henchman thing. Like with the Scarecrow one, it was pretty cut and dried, pretty formulaic. With this one, it's actually they're going off the formula and making it more of a mystery. Because Batman, it's you were talking about the pacing. It's paced really well.
Yeah.
And it's really drawn out in a way that's not common for this show up to this point.
Right. I'm curious about. I was thinking about her sexuality, and
were you?
Yeah, and I like my female characters to be empowered in their own way. I don't want just TNA characters. So I was thinking about her sexuality because she's clearly designed with sexuality in mind. For example, she poisons people by putting on this lipstick that she's concocted, which poisons, mostly men, I would imagine, from the cartoon.
Yeah.
She speaks in a very airy, lusty voice. She could wear anything, but she's got some skin showing. And again, I don't think she's TNA at all, but I'm wondering why they injected sexuality into her character. And I don't want the answer to be, well, that's just how she was designed. Like, I wish there was a better answer.
Yeah, I think it's... Well, honestly, I guess it has something to do with the idea of the like attractive pheromone thing has always been part of her deal.
Right.
And she is very much a character that is focused specifically on men usually.
Right.
And
unless it's Harley.
Unless it's Harley. Yeah, we'll get into that a lot later.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a negative that they do that?
Well, so if you fast forward to the Schumacher movie with what's her face playing Poison Ivy. I recall, and I've only seen that movie once, thank God. That she is more sexual and overt, and it's more of a look at me type of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas this version doesn't have that. I mean, it's there, but it's not her main attribute. Her main thing is plants and poisons, which she uses effectively because she's smart and makes these chemicals or whatever. She is crazy, but her sexuality she doesn't wear on her sleeve quite in the same way that she did in the Schumacher movie.
Right. The Schumacher movie, she's really, I mean, it's so
hey,
camp.
Boys.
Yeah, it's so over the top, and she's never, there's never any other side to that. She always is vamping it up. Mm-hmm. But I feel like here, she's very clearly using that as a means to an end.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, she knows that the way to get to the Playboy district attorney is to, be sexy and go on dates with him, because to get close enough to poison him by kissing him.
Right, yeah. I think the show, to broaden the argument a bit, the way it treats, you have Montoya in there already, who was one of my favorite characters. It's good to have a lady, a female cop. It's great to have one that's a minority, and then later, or at least in the comic, it's revealed that she's gay, which I think is amazing. And in my comic, I'm using Montoya because she's dynamite. And I'm thinking of the other female characters in the show, which you have Harley, who is part of a psychologically abusive relationship, you could argue. You've got characters like Red Claw, who are overt super feminists, almost built like men with really broad shoulders. Mm-hmm. You've got Catwoman, who is empowered in her own way, and she's not into Batman, even though he's into her. I mean, I feel like the show is very inclusive to women in an era where it wasn't necessarily a given, which I appreciate. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why this holds up. It's funny to me that now that Harley Quinn is in the mainstream with Arkham Asylum and with Suicide Squad, most of the stuff you find when you Google her is the new Harley, which she looks like a sexed up cheerleader.
Right.
And girls are into her, and they sort of emulate her, which I don't always understand. I'm sure stores like Hot Topic are thrilled that they have the rights to that T-shirt that Margot wears in the movie.
Yep.
But the classic Harley, to me, is really way more interesting, more slightly more empowered, I guess, and not so sexed up. And it seems like the new one's kind of a step back. Sorry, I got kind of off on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll definitely talk about that much more when Harley shows up. But I totally get what you're saying. It's an interesting...
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they do a good job, at least so far in this show, to make the female characters empowered and not just throwaways, especially with the villains, because they do a good job with a lot of the villains.
Right. Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
What race is Harvey Dent?
I don't know because I don't see color, Sean. Which is why I only work in black and white. Ha-ha!
Oh, man. I don't know how to answer that. Thanks. But yeah, I think I noticed in this that he looks like he's half Latino or black, but very light. Mm-hmm. They have black cops in the show, and they're much darker black. He's a very light black, or mixed. I don't even know the right way to say it. But I was thinking, I wonder if they're basing him off of Lando Calrissian.
Oh, yeah.
Or Harvey Dent from the first movie.
Yeah, I mean, if they are, they're not going very far in his direction, I don't think. But yeah, he is kind of...
swarthy.
Yeah, that's the word to use.
Probably a good dancer.
Yeah, he does have a different... He's got a... The thing I like about his design is they didn't just go with another square jaw guy.
Right.
Like, Bruce is that way, Gordon is that way.
Yeah.
And to have another main character with that same kind of brick jaw, they give him kind of like a potato face.
Yeah. It's funny, my default setting for when I draw male characters is square jaw.
Yeah.
Probably because I started off drawing a lot like Bruce Timm, and I still I can't get away from it. And if a guy doesn't have a square jaw, he just doesn't look right to me. For old men and like for other kind of ancillary characters, I can draw whatever, but I don't know what it is. It's probably something I should work on.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting that they chose that look for him, especially when he turns into Two-Face, because he's got a very narrow head, and so making it's not super. Once the half of his face gets scarred, it's not a lot of real estate that they're showing on a forward view.
Right.
But I think he's good in this. They don't really do much with him, but you get a sense of his relationship with Wayne, and which is nice. And I like how they go out of their way in this show to show you the relationships, however tangentially, of the main characters, also the secondary characters, and they just make Gotham seem like a really alive place,
like a real place. I like how they met at the Rose Cafe.
Yep,
little on the nose again. If you're Batman and you're looking for someone, just look for the restaurants and toy shops that happen to be named off of them.
True. Well, to be fair, at the time he had never met her before. So,
that's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. But like
in hindsight, Batman's gonna go, oh, I see what she did there.
He'll have that Sixth Sense moment, but it'll be a surprise only to him. He was dead the whole time. I was gonna say there was one bit at the beginning where Dent is talking to Pam about Bruce. Like, oh, Bruce, he runs with a pretty crazy crowd. Cut to Bruce running alongside a building with a criminal. Cut back to Bruce. Yeah, like they had a nice kind of back and forth that was pretty tongue in cheek, but also really funny.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's hanging around somewhere, and there he is hanging off a building or something like that.
Yeah, it's a great. I feel like that's something you see a lot. There's always that time where you have the character who leads the double life. There's always that overlap where like they're late for something. Like Spider-Man, they do that in Spider-Man all the time, where it's like, was it Spider-Man 2 where he's supposed to be delivering pizzas, but he's fighting, I don't know, Vulture or some shit.
Is this when he sings?
No, that's the third one.
Oh, okay.
That's oof.
I thought the pacing in this was really great.
Yep.
I thought the animation was really great. It looked a little anime every now and then, but I felt that the main characters were pretty much on model. Yeah,
this one and the next one, the animation is good, but it definitely has an anime feel to it. Yeah. And when we get to the next one, we could talk about it more because Bruce Timm actually had some issues with that.
Right. What's interesting to me is that even if the different studios that they're hiring to animate the episodes, even though some of them are very different than others, the backgrounds are always done by the same people, I think.
Yeah.
And the backgrounds really is such a huge part of the show that it almost covers up the fact that some of the characters looked a little bit manga.
Yeah, I think so. Those backgrounds, they're just consistently great.
Yeah.
And it really, like we said before, it really adds to it brings everything together.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you notice when Bruce shows up, he's talking to Alfred on the way home.
Did I notice how fat Bullock is? Dude, he's such a fat ass. Loves his donuts.
Donuts twice. I like how they looped that gag. So Bruce is arriving home, and Alfred's like, "Oh, where are you going? Rose Cafe. May I recommend this?" And like Alfred just seemed like very annoyingly helpful, and I thought Bruce would be like, "Alfred, are you okay?"
He's not a prick in this episode.
No,
I was expecting for him to make some snide comment, but he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm serious. Totally try the fish."
Should I cancel your date with Bambi? Was it? So, if you had to draw a scene in this, what would you pick?
I would probably I'd like to draw the first reveal of Poison Ivy, just because I think that costume needs some work.
Yeah.
And also, it's not really, it's almost like, if I remember it correctly, it's almost like the old, excuse me while I slip into something more comfortable scene, where she like walks behind a thing and like you see her put a glove on. And then she comes out and she's... And in her own mind, she's like super villain, but it's like you're wearing a bathing suit now.
Nice bathing suit.
Yeah.
Are you a criminal?
An evil bathing suit.
Yeah. Well, the crossbow on the wrist.
Oh yeah.
Really.
Which I always thought was a weird addition for her.
I meant to ask you that. What would you have given her if she needs a weapon other than a weed whacker and something by Monsanto? Actually, that would be a good episode for her. Her versus Monsanto. But what would you have given her instead of a crossbow on the arm?
For some reason, my first instinct is some sort of like bow staff.
Yeah.
Or something that like you could work into her look by make like a really viney staff or something that she could fight with.
You could like weaponize gardening tools.
Yeah.
Like a spade, shovel.
That might be a little too on the nose,
Yeah.
but
And also kind of sexist if you want to go down that road. Yeah, I mean, I don't see her with a gun. I don't see her with no weapon. I
Yeah.
think something sleek and sexy is cool, like when Elektra had the size.
yep.
But the crossbow works, I guess.
I guess for her it seems weird to me because when I think of Poison Ivy, I always think of the plants are her weapon.
Yeah,
So it always seemed to me like,
yeah.
in my mind, it's always like she doesn't actually do anything. It's more like Batman tries to get at her, but the plants are the ones getting in his way,
That's
kind
a
of
good
thing.
point. Yeah, she could almost, instead of having that mechanized wrist thing, you could have like a plant there that shoots poison out or different things.
Yeah, or something like a little bit more designy that, maybe it goes up her arm or something. But again, hard to animate. But
Or it's like a Iron Man war machine, and there's this bush on her shoulder, and the bush produces whatever gun it needs, and it just fires.
Like the Predator cannon.
Yeah. Oh man.
What about you? What would you redraw, or what would you want to draw?
I don't think I would redraw anything. I would like to. I would love to do a scene where Batman is looking for her inside of a greenhouse. I think, especially like a greenhouse at night. I love drawing plants for my art, and I'm not sure how you handle it. I like to just doodle with the quill, and you get so much freedom, and there's a shape. It's something. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a rose. It's a vine.
Right.
And playing with those shapes is always really fun. Plus, to me, greenhouses always look like aquariums in a way, and I don't know what it is, but I always like that stuff.
Yeah. There's they're definitely in an interesting setting that doesn't really get used as much as you'd think it would.
Yeah.
Unless you're dropping Catwoman through the top of one like in Batman Returns, but that's neither here. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for this episode. Is there anything explicitly that you would change, or like there's the low point or anything?
I think Alfred was a little too friendly and weird.
Well, he's just making up because he's been such a dick to him for the last 4 episodes.
Might have said that. I think Pam could use better motivation.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what I do like about the way that they handle her is at the end.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that's interesting is you get a good villain if you have good justification for their continued anger towards who the hero.
Right.
And I feel like they do that pretty well here. They, at the end of this, she's in her own mind twisted her motivation to continue to be angry about what's going on. Like her capture has not changed her mind at all. It's actually given her more reasons to be mad about the prison and Batman and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really a nice touch to add to the end of the episode instead of just grabbing her by the ankle and making a one-liner while dangling her over acid like they did for the last 2 Joker episodes. Or even the Scarecrow episode. By the end of that episode, you have no idea if he's going to come back, where he's held or anything. So it's a nice cap at the end.
I think Poison Ivy is done so well that it's easy to pick out the few things that bug me when generally she's 90% there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so there's 2 ways to go with her, I feel. One is as an eco-terrorist, if you want to go the political angle and have her be like a naturalist. And the other is more, I'm crazy and I love plants, to keep it more basic. Which would you prefer? If you had to draw a Poison Ivy story, what would you rather have her be?
Is it fair to say a mix of the two?
Yes.
Because I always like it when, so a character like this, I like where they have a motivation or an ethos or whatever that's just twisted enough by their craziness, by whatever trauma happened to them that turned them into this villain.
Right.
So they believe that they're right. I mean, that's, for me, the best villains are the villains who believe entirely that what they're doing is the right thing.
Right.
You've got your Magnetos and you've got your, depending on how you feel about the Joker, he kind of gets in there a little bit, but he's really more chaotic. But,
yeah.
But those are the ones that really stick with you, because I feel like if you can get to a point with a villain where some point in your story the audience goes, he's kind of got a point.
Right.
Then you've created a good villain.
I agree. When you make people like a villain that they didn't think they liked.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like for me, whether she's an eco-terrorist or a crazy plant lady, for the sake of a 22-minute cartoon, then crazy plant lady makes sense. If you had like a mini Netflix series or more time to do this, like if she was the only villain in a movie, I would really like to see her like join Greenpeace and
Yeah.
flunk out because she's like the ISIS of Greenpeace, and
Yeah.
that deals with a lot more politics and more research, and it's a different kind of story.
Yeah.
Which I love that stuff. But one thing I thought of was I wonder if she and the other eco-terrorist Ra's al Ghul ever teamed up in the comics.
Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting pairing. I never thought about that before.
He's more into saving the Earth before mankind poisoned it in general, plants included. She's more just the plant angle, but I feel like they have a lot in common. And where she's more small time, he is global. He's thinking globally, you know?
Yeah, Poison Ivy never really has that broad of a scope to her plans.
No. Yeah.
And if she does, it's always like, oh, well, I'm gonna cover the earth in vines.
And if
that should fix everything, right?
And if you slap her favorite flower, she just loses it. All you have to do is like flick.
Her favorite flower, which, as your wife pointed out, they for some reason let her keep in her cell.
Yeah.
This poisonous flower that allows you to mind control people.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. It's poetic license play. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right.
Yes, I keep forgetting we're watching a cartoon for children.
So, give me your rating on this, 1 to 5. What would you give this one? Keep in mind you said it was your favorite so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 4 as well.
Yeah, I think it's the first one that really feels like what the show ends up being.
Right.
The writing's great, the pacing is great, characters are great. It's all there. It's not quite a. I don't know if I would say this is one I would be like, if you're gonna watch Batman, watch this episode. But it's definitely a secondary one where I'd be like, oh yeah, that Poison Ivy episode's pretty good too.
Right. Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah, 4. I do a 4. Yeah, not quite a 5, but yeah, for all the reasons you said. So why don't we play a clip and then we'll move on to the next episode, which is Underdwellers.
Sure. All right, here we are. We're back, and this next episode we're going to be covering is The Underdwellers, which has a story by Tom Ruger, teleplay by Jules Dennis and Richard Mueller, or Miller. I don't know how you pronounce those German names. Directed by Frank Power, P-A-U-R, Power, Poor, who knows?
Right.
He's not listening. In it, Batman traces a series of bizarre robberies on the streets of Gotham back to a band of homeless children who have been raised to do the bidding of their master, the Sewer King.
Oh, man. I don't know how I feel about this episode.
Yeah.
I first of all, I thought the animation was amazing, but then I realized it's not on model.
Yep.
Outside of Batman looks like he's on model, but the animation company basically was like, yeah, we got it. We know what we do. And it looks like really well done 80s anime with the backdrop of Batman, and it's very well done. Especially the water effects I noticed were amazing. But I'm not sure how Bruce Timm felt about that.
Well, Bruce Timm was not a fan of this.
Oh.
According to IMDb trivia, Bruce Timm said this about the episode: "It's Junio's weakest episode." I assume that's the animation house.
Maybe that's a racial term.
Bruce Timm, huge racist. We almost didn't use them after that. It was the first one that came back that really looked totally unlike our show. It was very Japanese. Maybe it was a racist term. I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys seem to have a lot in common. But I'm glad we did use them again. They've done great work. BS&P took a lot out of this show. I'm not really sure what that means. Originally, the kids were to be victimized by the Sewer King, but he was not allowed to be mean or torturous to any of them. The impact is watered down. If we were doing it today, we probably would have decided not to do the show. That's interesting. And the director also said, "It was my first episode as director, and there are still things in it that I cringe at. Usually when we get an episode, we get to use a lot of discretion and change things. I wish I had been able to spend more time on that script. I found myself going back 2 or 3 times to fix scenes. Another because of there's a problem, the storyboard people who had made things difficult. They didn't quite understand what we were shooting, that we were shooting for a higher standard, so there was always a constant drain on my time. The whole opening sequence of the kids playing chicken with the train should have been cut. This was what we had to contend with at the beginning of the season."
Yeah, I guess that didn't have anything to do with...
Yeah, it was really kind of tangential.
Yeah, well, it fit the one of the themes, which is kids. I'm not sure if that's really a theme, but one of the things that it kept addressing. And I think the reason that I have reasons why I don't like it too, but the reasons I do like it is I'm a sucker for when Batman does things for kids or to help kids. I think that for when you have a budget, you're tempted to do things like Joker and Two-Face, to take time with homeless children who never speak for some reason. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, I know. This episode for me would have ticked the boxes of the episodes that I hated as a kid.
Right.
Because it was always any episode that was. It's like Worf episodes of Star Trek in my mind. It's like I don't give a shit about Worf. And
you don't?
Not at the time. I mean, he's fun. I like him now, but when I remember watching it back then, it was like I didn't really care about the Klingon stuff. I was more interested in the Starfleet stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of racist.
Well, he's a fake race, so it's fine.
He's kind of Mongolian.
Anyway, when I was watching the show as a kid, I remember any episode that featured like a villain that wasn't from the comics and had Batman doing stuff that was not strictly classic Batman stuff, always bored the shit out of me. But watching this again now, I feel the same way I think as you do. I kind of like it. I kind of don't like it. I think the villain is a total throwaway.
Yeah.
But I love the story that they tell with Batman saving the kids. That's a good story. And again, it shows that they're trying to do something different,
I like when he, before he takes a picture of the kids, he says the word evidence.
Yeah.
He starts taking pictures. And then he dodges
as if we'd think he was like a creep for taking pictures of these sick kids.
Smile, kids. That would have come off the wrong way.
This isn't for me. Yeah. Well, it is, but not in the way you think.
Oh, man. So I didn't understand why none of the kids were talking. And I feel like they could have used the line, like he robbed what do you call a place where you keep kids with no families?
Orphanage?
Thank you. Yeah. He robbed an orphanage of mute children or something, or disabled kids, but how do you animate that?
There's that one scene where he screams at them about talking, but you don't get any idea why he doesn't like talking.
Okay. You're right. You know what? I take it back then. I guess that kind of answers it. Also, hiring a bunch of kids is expensive to do voices.
Another trivia thing I read actually is this has the smallest listed cast for any DC animated thing they've ever done. There's only 4 people in the cast for this.
Huh.
Yeah.
Must have been a lonely after party.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't have kids there.
But
now it's getting weird.
Excuse me, I have a... well, that also brings me to one thing that I actually really liked about this episode is I am a sucker for when they take chances on not having dialogue and stuff.
Right.
Like the first like half hour or so of WALL-E.
Yeah.
It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Because they tell an amazing story. There's no dialogue.
Yeah.
And
with Short Circuit Jr.
Yeah, and you've got There'll Be Blood. First 20 minutes of that, no dialogue.
Up.
Yeah, because you can use dialogue. A lot of people. It's kind of like what we were talking about voiceover narration in comics. People think that because you can have dialogue, you should have dialogue, and that's not always the way to go.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I when I talk to writers about voiceovers and narration, I just get blank faces.
Yeah.
They've never even considered not doing that.
Yeah.
And when you're writing and drawing your own stuff, you can do that a lot more effectively. So I question the foundation of using that period. And I agree with you. Of course, you can use voiceovers in animation and you can have a narrator. But if you can take a chance, go old school and just tell it with visuals, I think that's really cool.
And what it also does with this episode specifically is it really lets the music shine.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So Shirley Walker's soundtrack for this specifically, I remember when maybe twice a year I'll play this in the background while I'm working. And this one I always remember that cool song of Batman in the sewers kind of investigating, and you've watched the water trickle down from the street sweeper through the all the way down to the kids. Really nice stuff, and we'll talk about Shirley Walker later because she's one of the more important producers of the show. I feel it doesn't get a lot of accolades.
Yeah, I think her and also Andrew Romano, the voice casting director.
And he's Ray Romano's son. No.
Well,
brother?
First it's a woman, I think.
Oh shit.
Andrea.
Oh, Andrea. I thought you said Andrew Romano.
I don't know if there's a relation.
I was going to ask you, what are the kids doing?
No idea. No clue.
Farming,
shoveling dirt.
Just hanging out in tattered clothes.
They're like the villager people in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. They're just stacking clumps of dirt in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
They're not really doing anything that I could. Well,
they're feeding the alligators.
I don't know what they're doing underground, but above ground they're stealing for people, which makes sense.
That makes sense, but then...
I guess the sewer king is having them install a pool or something in the sewer.
Yeah, or a sweet cage for his crocodile alligator collection.
Oh man, speaking of the crocodiles, the scene where Batman's fighting the crocodiles, it's brutal. Like he gets one
jaw?
crocodile by the jaws and like
pushes it open.
Yeah, he like hyperextends the jaw and the eye in the alligator like opens like it cracks or something. It's it's creepy.
I'm like, did he just murder that alligator? And then the next scene you see its tail wagging, so you know it's fine.
Yeah.
You always have to save the animals, at least in my scripts.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like they say. It's like they pointed out in that honest trailer of Independence Day how they blow up the entire city, but they save the dog.
Save the dog. Yeah. Same thing in Daylight with Stallone.
Oh really?
The guy's wife gets she drowns, and then a second later they have to swim underwater, and you're like, how is a dog going to swim underwater? And they pop up on the other end, and the dog's gone. Mm-hmm. And then the wall starts breaking, and a big tidal wave just slams into them, and there's the dog. And you're like, yay!
Of course.
There happens in some order like that, where we're okay with his sweet wife dying, but that dog better be alive by the end.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why John Wick.
Yeah.
People think that works so well is because they kill his dog.
Yep.
And then he just goes crazy.
Justifies all the murder in the world.
Yeah.
See, if ISIS had at least that motivation, I might understand a little bit. Because puppies are real.
That's true. Puppies are real.
That could have been the name of our podcast.
Puppies Are Real, the Batman podcast.
What about when all these kids are missing? Were there any flyers or any signs at all of these kids?
Yeah, they didn't go into that stuff at all.
Yeah.
I think the approach on this one is not as good as the last one. Because, I think this one they went a little bit more... Even though they're telling a different kind of story, it's a little bit more formulaic, where it's like villain, his henchmen are alligators.
Yeah.
His heist is that he's stealing kids, I guess.
Yeah.
And Batman has to, some aspect of the heist follows him home to Wayne Manor. In this case, it's literally a kid.
Oh yeah. So the kid sees him as Batman in near Bruce Wayne's gun collection.
Yeah.
Right. That does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't know. I just know if I was Alfred, I would be sick of Bruce Wayne just bringing random kids home. I mean, I guess at this point it's only been Dick Grayson, but clearly he's building a Neverland Ranch style thing in the West Wing.
I will say the bit where Alfred is trying to get a handle on all these kids running around, knocking over vases or whatever is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Bruce's line of, I hope I wasn't that much trouble when I was there.
Yeah. He brings this like feral child home, leaves him with Alfred, and then from the Batcave is just like, oh, that's funny. Yeah. I'm sure there's nothing wrong there.
I feel like
that kid doesn't have rabies or anything.
I'll bet the mansion is a mess because Alfred has too much to do helping Bruce on the radio and cooking his meals. Like how the hell and raising kids now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet there's the top 5 floors are a mess.
Yeah, there's always like that 1 or 2 floors that he's like, all right,
I'll get to this later.
I'm gonna get to this tomorrow, and then Batman gets shot out of a cannon, so he has to like suture him up.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's suturing, he's like, I was gonna clean the bedroom today.
I know.
And now I can't take a vacation.
That's funny. So when Batman calls him, Alfred, I need blah blah blah. You never show Alfred like putting down a feather duster. Like, really? I just started cleaning, man. Why don't you tell me you were gonna head out and play?
I can't clean the bathroom, Master Bruce, because you need 4 quarts of fucking blood.
Was this the episode where Alfred was sitting in Batman's chair conducting fake?
With the radio? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I like that element, and I thought that radio had a really cool design for a tiny radio. But what was the point of that?
I don't know. He's just hanging out. It gets lonely up there. It's like, one person works downstairs, one person works upstairs. I'm sure you can relate to that. Sometimes you just want to hang out with each other. True.
It's like downstairs, upstairs. Those British down.
If that's not a real British show, it sounds like a British show.
That's what they call it.
Downstairs,
Downton
upstairs
is known as a downstairs, upstairs show.
Oh, that's a term. Okay, I was gonna say just that name sounds like a British comedy title
or porn.
This
with Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger and downstairs, upstairs. Oh boy.
It's funny. So Scott Snyder, who writes Batman, we were both fans of Downton, and there's this character named Bates who's kind of the badass. He's a butler who's injured. He's a war hero, but he's got some edge to him, and he knows how to fight. But it doesn't come up very much. And in a show like Downton, he stands out as like the Wolverine of the cast. And one thing Scott thought of was, what if he's Alfred's dad? And there's got to be a way. So Scott concocted a whole story about how Gates was Alfred's father, and it sounded really cool.
Nice.
And apparently, I asked Scott this. There's really not much of a backstory on Alfred.
Yeah.
It's almost wholly unexplored territory.
Yeah.
Which makes me want to pitch Alfred Year One.
Yeah, it could be really interesting. I mean, there's so many bathrooms you could clean.
Yeah.
I mean, eight issues, like an issue per wing of the house. That would be great.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, yeah, there's a lot you can do there. I mean, I guess it depends on how weird you want to get with it, because you could always do the kind of thing where it's like so. The idea that Alfred used to be like an SAS operative or something, I've always been like, okay, I get it, but at what point in his life does he go, I think I'm just gonna go be a butler?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he's taking that Black Hawk helicopter over Afghanistan or something, taking people out with the 50 caliber rifle, does he decide, what, I'd rather be cleaning toilets for a rich person?
Right. What if he was forced to retire, and Thomas Wayne had a connection, and he offered him a job, and Bruce's first interaction with Alfred was having like PTSD, waking up nightmares and kicking walls and smashing things, and Bruce is like, who is this guy? And eventually Alfred is saved by Bruce in a way, by giving him something to focus on.
Yeah, no, that works. That definitely works. It reminds me of Sherlock a little bit.
Oh yeah.
With Watson, it has the PTSD thing, and he
cool.
kind of working with Sherlock, kind of, at least in the new version.
Do British people get PTSD too?
I don't know. I don't know if they have that part of the brain.
I think they're a lot more polite about it, more chivalrous. They're not like raw, cranky American.
It's post-traumatic so sorry disease. Anyway, but no, yeah. There's lots you can do there with Alfred.
Sorry, man. It's still funny. It deserves more of a laugh. All right, I'm done.
I mean, you could do the idea that he has some sort of like Wookiee life debt with Thomas Wayne, where Thomas Wayne saved his life, so now like one of those old style kind of things.
Yeah.
I like your idea. Your idea is good though.
Oh, well, don't nobody take it. Maybe we'll edit this out.
Nobody listens to this. So.
Yeah, to Alfred Year One. Sounds like a joke, but it's like Emmy Award nomination or Eisner Award nomination.
Well, what's kind of cool is, I don't know if you ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've seen a few.
The character of Giles is her watcher, her mentor there, is very similar to an Alfred type character, where he's, kind of like a stuffy Englishman kind of guy.
Right.
And the best thing about that character in the show is they would always hint at this past that he had before he became a watcher, where he was like running with the wrong kind of crowd and was kind of a badass. And when he meets someone from his past, they refer to him as Ripper, but they never explain why they refer to him as Ripper.
Oh, that's cool.
And, every now and then, so there's one episode where the villain is this guy from his past who keeps referring to him as Ripper, and all the kids are like, what the fuck are they talking about? And at the end of the episode, you finally get him and the friend from way back alone,
right?
And you see him turn back. It's pretty scary. Like it's every now and then the Ripper will come out, and it's a really nice beat to add to the character who just seems like a stuffed shirt.
Is it like Dwayne Johnson in The Rundown when he avoids guns the whole time, and eventually he's gonna pick one up, and when he does, you're like, all right.
Kinda, yeah. It's kind of like
you
that.
want to see him go back to being his dirty self.
Yeah. And then at the end, but in that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, basically what he does is, he does the thing where he's going to take off his glasses and clean them, but he's doing that because he's about to start a fight.
Right.
And then at the end, he cleans the glasses and puts them back on.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That's very Kingsman in a way,
yeah.
too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the villain for this, the Sewer King. What do you think about him?
Another Shakespearean reject. I did like the voice actor.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
That guy could have been the Mad Hatter, or he could have been some of the other Condiment King or whatever. I liked the voice. I wish they hadn't blown it on this Shakespearean sewer dweller.
Yeah, he looks. The design of him looks a lot like the Mole King or the Fantastic Four villain, where he's got that like big overarching cape.
Yeah.
And like that 18th century kind of cape and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
big staff and stuff. And it's a
Yeah.
similar idea. They live underground and
Didn't
whatnot.
they have that in Incredibles? Mole Man at the end.
I think so. Yes, where he comes up out of the ground. Yeah.
Okay. So another mole-like idea.
I think that one specifically was supposed to be a Fantastic Four reference. Because I think Mole Man is one of the first Fantastic Four villains.
That's right.
And there's that famous cover of the monster coming up out of the ground with the
Right. And as we know, The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie ever
Oh,
made.
absolutely. It's arguably the best Watchmen movie ever made too. There's a lot of overlap in Watchmen in that movie. That's a fantastic movie, front to back.
It's funny how Hollywood gets it wrong a lot.
Yeah.
But they often clean house on a lot of crappy, cobwebs that exist in comics, and they get rid of the crap and they salvage the good stuff, and they clean it up a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that was an example of like, well, we'll take what works, we'll get rid of the 99% that doesn't, and we'll give you viewers what you really want.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised that they haven't been able to crack the code with the Fantastic Four in a movie, because it seems like it should be fairly easy, but I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Man.
Sewer King, disposable. He's one. I don't think he comes back again. I can't see him coming back.
No, I don't think he does.
I like the story that they were telling. I wish they'd use somebody else for it. Maybe. I don't know. But
I'd see. To me, it was a shame that they used such a talented animation house to create such a half-assed script that not even the writers were really thrilled with.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a waste of resources. I would have rather, them be used on a really well-written episode that deserved the animation skill.
Yeah. So, unless you have anything else, you want to go to the rating?
What would you like to draw?
Oh, right. I would want to redesign Sewer King.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty boring looking. I don't really know what I would do, but he's just stock, Yeah. Like he even has like an eye patch.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. How do we make him more interesting? I don't know. Give him an eye patch.
Yeah.
I think you could do something. Maybe put a little more thought into his backstory or something. Give him a disfigurement or something. Why is he in the sewer?
Right.
What's keeping him down there?
Yeah.
Like, you remember the Rat King from Ninja Turtles?
Uh-huh.
He was cool looking, where he was like all bandaged up and stuff, and that was a cool looking character.
Huh. Yeah.
But give him like a Phantom of the Opera type thing. Why is he spend his life underground? You have no idea.
That's a good. If you made him more like Phantom, like he was very classy, in spite of being in the sewer, that would be a nice sort of reversal, playing with two opposites. I should say. That's an interesting direction. I don't know what I would do to fix him. I mean, you need to fix the writing.
Yeah, honestly, you know what I would have done? Not drawing wise, but I wouldn't have used Sewer King at all. I would have used Killer Croc.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah, why isn't he there?
I don't know. It reminds me of the Dick Tracy movie when he goes to the kid's house and the kid's like father or whatever is that like gross looking tramp dude, and it's like seems like that to me where it's Killer Croc who isn't very polished.
Yeah.
Could just by fear or whatever gather this army of kids to keep him in food,
Yeah.
And he's already got crocodiles in the sewer anyway, so that would be pretty interesting.
Do you think Croc is attracted to crocodiles?
Only the sexy ones.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, you sip uncomfortably for your own joke. Oh, you didn't do it. I need my water to do it. If I could redraw something, I would love to do like 6 pages of Batman with or maybe like you invert the comic and you do a 2-page spread from top to bottom, and you have Batman at the top going into the sewer cap, and you almost do like a Chris Ware type play with the panels. He's got a flashlight, and then he follows the water down further, and by the bottom of the bottom page, he would find the kids finally.
Yeah.
Or the last panel would be like, and then turn. Like, I think that would be a really neat thing to play with.
Yeah, kind of like what David Aja does with Hawkeye. He makes the really nicely designed pages that are not strictly comic book. They go, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a very Chris Ware idea. He did this book called Jimmy Corrigan versus the World or whatever. So all right, so ratings.
You go first.
If I gave it a 3, it would be just based on the animation, which is really good. Mm-hmm. But overall, I'm gonna go 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough for me. I'm going to say 3. Yeah, I'm going to say 3 because I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's better. I think it's better than the last couple we watched.
Yeah.
The Joker episode and the Scarecrow episode. Only because it's not... I feel it's tough because the Scarecrow episode did stuff well, but this one does different things well. Because I like that they're trying to tell a different kind of story and it isn't just a smash 'em, grab 'em up thing.
Right.
Then they're having Batman do something different.
Yeah.
But it's just flat. Yeah. It's middle of the road.
The last laugh I gave, I think, a 2. And I think this is better. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. It's not quite even average for me.
Yeah.
But, I guess it doesn't matter. It's not great, but it's got some bits that we like.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for Pretty Poison and the Underdwellers. If you like what you listen to and you're on iTunes, please give us a rating or a review. That would be much appreciated. And next time, we will be back with POV and The Forgotten.
POV is one of the top.
Is it? I don't remember it by name.
Oh, man. It's like a Kurosawa...
like
Rashomon type idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Spoilers. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.